going to be creating systems for our game. We cloned Pac-Man to the degree that we needed it for proof of that we can make a video game. And now we are going to just work out. I had a good talk yesterday with Darren, and lots of it's funny when you're doing this and you think about, oh, then these things just need to happen when you're making something like this, and then you start talking about it and you realize like what is involved in that. And it's interesting how it makes it, like, to make something abstract in your mind into a tangible thing, how difficult it can be to express those ideas from an idea to an implementation. Those are two different things. And you can have tons of ideas, but applying them is a design and engineering problem. For sure. Yeah, so essentially most of our talk yesterday was, what do we want to do with the game? And then it was, okay, we want to do these particular things. What systems do we need to exist in order to facilitate making that happen? So I've been doing, we talked about it, and I think we've got our level editor kind of worked out, at least for getting started with this, to what we think it needs to be. And then we can go from there. Yeah, it's just like, it's just so much implementation. And so what's going to happen here is we're not going to see any game for a long time. Like, I'm going to be making things to be able to make the game for a long time. What is a long time is, I'm not even sure. Like, yeah, and I'm just realizing my bit rate's way too high for my stream, so I'm going to change something real quick. I'll be right back. Yeah. So so it's a lot of system implementations. I'm going to be reading a lot of documentation in Godot, and it's going to be a lot of boring me just reading and trying some things out and bonking my head against the wall while I get some of the things worked out. One of the critical things, though, like I said, though, was we got a basic the basic concept for how our level design, our level editing system is going to work. And so there will be that part I'm not too worried about. It's honestly a lot of the graphical details that I like. A main example is, and I'm dealing with the limitations of the system that I'm using. This is one of the reasons why, if you build your own thing, you don't have to worry about this kind of stuff. But Godot imports SVGs, it rasterizes them. I can't use them natively. It doesn't create them into like a set of polygons or something like that. And so, since the image is rasterized, like, I want to use that ability to then just create scaled versions of images based on the screen resolution. And I realized that if I know the exact resolution of the game, that I can essentially manually set the scale to be exactly pixel perfect for whatever the resolution is that we're dealing with. Yeah, so that's like a big thing. Hey, how's it going? Is it White Jesus, or am I saying that wrong? I feel like I might be saying that wrong. And I just realized I shaved and I forgot to do this little thing. And so now I have a little bit of a... Oh, man. That's not on purpose. I have a little bit of a... I don't know what that's called. I'm sure it has a name. Yeah, so lots of system stuff that I'm going to be working on. I'm just trying to kind of wrap my head around what do I want to hit up first. I think getting... let's make a new folder. We're going to call it levels. Stages. Why not? And sure, new scene. We'll call this default. Can we do pounds? I need something to bring it to the top. So we'll do default. Is that possible? Save 2 modified resources. And we're just going to choose node for the base. 2D game project inherited by all 2D related nodes has position, rotation, scale, and z-index. All right, so I got it right. That's what I figured. White. White. All right. Yeah, I was just saying I'm going to be working on a lot of system stuff. So let me get... The main thing is we wrote a doc. I gotta find it real quick here. It's a Google Doc. I wrote down an outline. I think we worked out the basic outline of what the level editor is going to look like. If it'll let me... Come on, Google. Here we go. Let me get this over here. So this is the main little bits of what we sort of worked out. For our... Now, how do I get this? Can I move tab to another window? Yeah, oh, here we go. Here we go. Boom. Like that. Now if I go over here, here it is. Sweet. So we're going to do a few tile maps. There's going to be one, we're going to call it ground layer. So we'll call it ground. There's going to be the obstacle levels. So another tile map, and this is going to be called obstacles. Is that how you spell obstacles? Yeah, so lots of systems dev stuff. Basically, now that we've gotten it to where it's okay, we can do this. We can make a game. Now it's going to be developing the tools to be able to make it in scale and make a whole bunch of levels and things like that. And we have a lot of ideas, so we're going to take the basic Pac-Man idea and really go in a different direction with it. And I guess it's really going to probably look more like I don't know what games you're familiar with. Yeah, I know that feeling. I was getting burned out, dude. I was near the end of this thing, and I realized that like people that are making games as a hobby, I think one of the biggest mistakes, because I watch a lot of devlog videos that people make, you know, on YouTube and stuff. Yeah, like I would even call them independent developers because they haven't published anything. And the biggest mistake they make is when they start to get burnt out, instead of just powering through it, they get excited by a new idea to keep them going. And the problem with that is they either drop the entire game they were working on in the first place with a whole new one, or they add new mechanics or features or something to the game that only is going to add more time to finish the thing at the end of it. And I see that a lot. And so we're trying to design the game before we code anything. Just to like be like, okay, we think these elements will be fun and we have these ideas for mechanics and stuff, and just sort of get it all plotted out and then try and go for the low-hanging fruit of those ideas. But I know that feeling. Yeah, I guess gameplay-wise, you know, it might end up looking more like a... I think the maze thing is a good, solid idea. Keeping it in the idea of like hallways, and that there's always going to be a wall between on two sides of you, and if there isn't, that means you can turn that way. So that main thing will probably always stay there. Everything else can change. And that includes like player movement and all kinds of stuff. So like Pac-Man's permanently moving, but we're kind of thinking maybe it might be a good idea to maybe make it where there's an accelerate button or a go button, and that would really change things. Okay, so yeah, so the base idea for the tile structure of this is that there's a ground layer that's just graphical relish. There's going to be the obstacle layer, which is a set of tiles that will have behavior attributes applied to them via code. So those will be their own tile set. And we're going to have like gray box versions of them so we can start to develop levels without any graphical stuff, because those elements will look different depending on the stage possibly. Then we're going to have what we're calling a states layer on the ground, which will be above all those, which means that as you change things in the environment, the states layer will change as well. So there will be graphical elements to the ground that have state change to them. That's another surface element that won't be a tile map. That'll be what's the word? Sprites. Then on top of those, there will be the actual maze walls, the maze layer. And then on the maze layer, there can also be states, so that when certain things happen, those come alive again or change, or something about them can be changed based on other attributes occurring. So that's the basic structure that we have. So we're going to call this base one here node. Now, I don't know if I should do a 2D node, or I suppose I should. Ground states. Ground states. States ground layer, let's call it. Then we've got another layer called the tile map. Well, you know, if you need any inspiration or want to bounce any ideas off someone, I'm your guy. Maze. And then we're going to have another node 2D called maze state. So this is the draw order. And in maze state and ground state are going to nest. There's going to be a lot of children in these two. Since these are tile maps, they won't have any necessarily. Although I may bury the maze objects inside maze, and the timer elements and things like that will be there. Yeah, and I may have to instantiate timers just to make the level editor work properly. But I guess some possible games that it'll be like are some old NES games like Bomberman, maybe. Maybe something like Bubble Bobble. Or is it Bubble Bobble? Or is it shoot, I can't remember. There's this character, he's like pale and he like has these red headphones on the NES. I can't remember what it's called. Maybe I don't know. We have some interesting ideas. Okay, so the idea here is I've got this folder here, and so what I'm thinking is we're gonna have our default layout for a level, and then really all you're gonna do is just duplicate it and start building your own. And I'm gonna have on the parent level, on the parent object, there's going to be a script that's going to check and just make sure that there are certain these guys basically, that these exist where they are in the default one, and then yell at you if you screw with them, because I'm going to be triggering a lot of code from that, and we'll call this stage. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how Twitch works, man, because I keep bouncing ideas. I'm thinking there are still some things I need to make that are definitely needed. Spawning, home base, and potion making. But after that, I'm going to have to sit down and give some thought to direction. I don't want to waste time on melee combat systems if it ends up being left out. I understand that. I mean, you could, an interesting challenge is to try to make a game where violence is not a thing. And how do you make that fun? That's a really hard nut to crack. Because I think just by the nature of the way that code works, and that you have variables and you change their qualities, that I think just the natural solution is to come up with like a violence kind of thing. But I get if that's, if you want to make an action game, and that's what we're making. So are you thinking, home base, are you thinking that you're going to have like base building mechanics? I have to watch your intro video again to remember a bit about what you're saying your goal is. It's not that I'm against anything melee, but I've played a lot of games in my life, and the stereotypical melee system has become a bit tired for me. Yeah, I know. That's why I won't play the FF7 remake, because it's like, oh god, like the moment-to-moment gameplay. It's just like I can't do it. I can't. I can't. Like the thing I like about the original FF7 and the active battle system was you had to keep going and you had to think fast. But you still like were in a menu kind of. There was still an element of like you're taking a break and you can think about things. But when it's just like bam, 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 hitting things, and then ultimately what ends up happening with those games is you just keep hitting the same button combos over and over and doing the same thing over and over because you find something that works. Home base will just be a safe spot to mix potions and such, but base building is not out of the question. Isn't the common mythology of fairies that they live in trees too? They have little houses and trees and stuff like that. So, is it a fairy? Right, it's a fairy, or was it something else? So camera scaling, I've got to tackle that. The biggest thing we have to figure out is right here, this one. Test different grid sizes. Can I zoom in, by the way? I can. Yeah, so we need to decide on a maximum, like what is our grid size for the game. And I see, this is where I think as an aesthetic choice, this might be unappealing for people, but it puts a lot of pressure on us to make the game visually appealing because I don't want a panning camera. And so that certainly is a thing. Elf. Oh, that sucks. She's a druid elf. The tree is a great idea. Her spawn would be a nest where she hatches from an egg. Oh, yeah. Well, there you go. And yeah, I mean, if you were to take the Ubisoft formula of the clock tower or the tower, oh man, my stream just went haywire there for a second. I was going all over the place. I don't know why. My internet must be bad right now. But yeah, if you take the Ubisoft idea of like the climb a tower to open up the world or see more things to do, you could have like different types, like a certain type of tree that if you see it in the horizon, you're like, oh, that can be another spawn point. I just need to get to it. Where I used to live, oak trees were abundant. There was a lot of oak trees. It was actually kind of ridiculous. Okay, so if I go back over here, I look at camera 2D. Where do I... All right, there's our camera. I think we're just going to have to keep experimenting. Like the scale thing, you know, what's a fun level? And how big does it look on the screen? How big does a character look? And yeah, it's 2D. We're using vector art, but it's going to be 2D. Although I can always Godot allows you to have both engines running on top of each other, so you can do things like if I wanted to, I could throw in on the canvas. There's ways of adding both. Here we go. Okay, so if I go back over here and I have our ground. So this is presumably, what are you? Nothing. So this is our window. So let's add camera. Right. No, that's not going to be a problem because I'm doing everything on a per... although you are right, in the code I will need to make sure that I have the speed on a per tile basis. Like the speed will be based on tile to tile movement. Like how long does it take you to get from one tile to the next? That way I can scale it. Like if I scale the tile size, the character movement still matches. So tile per minute or tile per second as a measurement of how fast the character goes. So then the speed, I'll have to have some math where I get the pixels, the pixel size of the tile It wouldn't be the pixel size of the tile. Well, yeah, it would. And take that and do some math in the speed equation, so that if we decide to change the scale, which I think that's a really good piece of advice, that we do that properly. So that is 16 by 9. So I'm going to delete the camera 2D here. And let's just say, what is this? This is too big. I can tell you that already. So we're at, cell size is 64 by 64. So let's just go 32 by 32. And what did I end up doing in here? On the world, we've got cell sizes 8 by 8. And that might be too small for 16 by 9. But I think that's probably the lowest we'd ever want to go with this. And I do feel, it depends on how thick we want to make the quote-unquote walls and how big we want to make the character. But the character seems too small. Like if we think about this as a 16 by 9 screen, the character seems too small already here. So let's, for now, let's call it 16 by 16. Oh, that still looks too small. It looks the same. Is it because if I do 8 by 8 and then I zoom out, does it? Nope. 16. Yeah. Well, let me see if I can think of that NES game. It's called, golly, I can't remember. I streamed it a long time ago with my wife one time. Kickle Cubicle. That was what it was called. Kickle Cubicle. Let's look up. I don't want to bring up Brave. Kickle Cubicle. Google. We're just going to search images for Kickle Cubicle. And I'm not spelling that right. Here we go. Do, 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 do. Now we've got the music stuck in my head. Do, 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 do. What is this version? I've never seen this version before. What is this? Oh, so it was an arcade game. So here's somebody playing it. Oh, no. I don't want to go to YouTube. Kickle Cubicle Arcade. So they've got a ratio. Now this is not, there's no way this game was 16 by 9 when it came out. But they've got a good ratio. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24? Yeah, 16 by 24. Well, definitely square. Although we could do something that's not square to be interesting. That might be weird, though. That wouldn't work for the character design. It's a possibility, though. I'm just wondering why this doesn't... Why does this look... Okay, so that breaks it. Right. So why is the... Custom transform... I mean, if we were to count this roughly, there's not an even amount of... Okay, well, I'm going to go with what you're saying. I agree with your advice, which is to say, let's make sure that we can make it scale to whatever we need it to be, because we're just not sure what we're going to do. And I think we really need to start making some stuff with it before we really get in the weeds on that in particular. But basically making it, I have to always be thinking, if we were to change the scale, how do I make sure that the code and the game feel stay the same? So I think that's a good piece of advice. And I'm sure there'll be some piece of something that I forget. But like, so the other, I know I'm not programming right now, but there is a lot of thinking that I'm having to do here. So the other, there's like base stuff that we need. So on the ground layer, so this, what we're calling the ground layer, this is going to be where we are, no, obstacles, sorry. The ground layer is all graphical flourish. And it possibly can change state as well. We have an idea of how we'll do that in tile, on the tile sets. The obstacle layer is also going to have graphical indicators. This will be the one that we gray box right away. And I'm saying gray box, but it'll just be like colored boxes to indicate certain things. So when you lay down the maze, like for instance here, if we were to consider this the maze, and we had our ground layer and let's pretend like these pellets weren't here, but like you could lay down something here that indicates that, oh, this is an area that's going to slow the player down. And that would be on what we're calling the ground layer. Or no, sorry, on the obstacles, which is directly above the ground layer. I'm thinking of them as one and the same though, because if they were to show up graphically, they would look like things that are on the ground. On top of that, we can do the same thing. Like if we want the edges to do some sort of thing around a wall, that will also technically be happening on the ground layer. So I'm going to use that not only as a graphical representation, but also as a data array. Is it, hey, is it XS09? How's it going? Yeah. Yeah. That means I have to draw something. I don't want to do that. You're right, though. I think even if it's just like noise. How's it going? Yeah, even if it's noise, I think that'll be the, not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea. It's a good idea. So let me go over to my sprite thing here, and let's just go with 64 just to start out with something. So we'll say 64 by 64. Is there an easy way for me to make some white noise? Yeah, I agree. You know, since it's the ground, we'll just make it brown. Contour, blur tool, jumble tool. What does this do? Nothing. But does it... Is there a brush? There's a paint bucket. Okay, so we'll do paint bucket. And then we'll go to white. And then what does jumble do if we choose that and start? Nothing. Blur tool. Okay. There's got to be a brush here somewhere, right? Here we go. Brush. So we'll do... Okay. How do I lower the spray amount? Spray width, spray speed. We're going to lower that a bit. I'm making Minecraft graphics now, but I need something. So there's our ground tile. It's going to be programmer art for a while until we get these things set up. I'm starting to learn the Unity, but I'm doing 3D, and I know how to code. Or are you saying you don't know how to code? Only started learning Unity. Okay, so I'm guessing you're just learning to code? Or do you know how to code from some other thing in your life? Yeah, okay, so there's our sprite. Let's export this bad boy. And we're going to call this ground PNG. Oh, I haven't set a... Where is it going to? Oh, I'm up here. So we'll put it on the desktop. I don't like it when they do this weird stuff with the GUI. Okay, export ground. That's done. Now let's get that in here. So we really need to get a lot of our stuff organized for stage editor. Call it stage editor. We'll go and we'll drag our graphic. Where is it? I exported it, right? Do I have to hit another button? Oh, export. Makes sense, I guess. There it is. Ground PNG. We'll put it in here. There we go. Yeah, the base of it is done. I'm actually working on some other stuff right now. The base of it is done. We're forking the project, and we're getting ready to start making our own game off of what we've learned. I could show you. Do I have a controller here? Yeah, let me get the Discord plug in here. I don't know. I forgot it was gone. Oh, hey, I already see you in there. Welcome aboard. Let me show you the game, though. Or where we're at with it. But yeah, we forked it, and there's just a few things I need to work out on my own time to make it a complete game. And then I'm going to, I've mentioned it before, but I'm going to probably put up a tutorial on YouTube on how I did it. So let's get I gotta get this into pair mode here. Okay. Connects. All right, so we're paired, and I'll just run this real quick. So, and I actually think I may have broken a few things, but so there we go back. The other ghosts come out as well, and they all have their own personalities. And they switch between scatter and chase, and then then of course you can die. So yeah, that's the base of it. Yeah, I don't know. For me, I've just felt like 3D has some awfully big overheads. Thanks. Yeah, but I'll be finishing that up on top of everything else. I'm gonna be spending like 10% of my time finishing it up because I really want to start making progress on the actual game. So I'm gonna be forking the code and all that stuff. But right now I'm working on the level editor system for the game. What was I doing? Oh yeah, so scenes, graphics, tile sets, and I'll make a new resource. Tile set. We'll call it default ground. There it is. And we're going to add our ground pixel. And we're going to tell it that we want this to be a new single tile. And we need to change the snap options to be 64 by 64. There we go. All right. There's our base tile for ground. We're going to load graphics, tile sets, default ground. Okay, so here's our ground. Bleh, it looks awful. It looks awful. Please understand this is programmer art. This is not anything right now. Blah. Okay. So I'm getting the level editor in place. So like for instance, if let me show you so for the Pac-Man style game, we have some scenes here. We have each of the Pac-Man. They're all actually the Miss Pac-Man levels. And you can edit these and start drawing. Like you can start making new walls right here and draw them in basically. And start creating your level. And actually, like by default, it might be a good idea to have it just be completely filled in, and then you just draw the line of where you want the maze part to be, right? But let me uncheck this. So that just shows where you've drawn before. So yeah, so you can basically just draw the maze, and then the collisions and stuff happen all automatically on the tile level. One of the reasons why I have that checkbox there is to be able to catch anything that I miss on the rogue tile sets. But yeah, so yeah, but to answer your question, the answer is yes and no. We want to be able to make our own stages and stuff, so we're definitely going to be doing that. But we're also going to be adding all kinds of logic and stuff that just doesn't exist in a traditional Pac-Man game. So that's the part where I need to just kind of get something going. And so that's what I'm working on right now. What I'm going to do is create a new set of tiles. We're going to call this I really don't know what to call it. The width will be 64. The height will be growing. But we're going to, let's say 256 to start. That'll give us 4 possible tiles. And we're going to make a square. Can we lock? So let's say the first square is white, and this is like our default. You know, is there a way to, whoa. Let's see, is there a way to fix it so that it's actually a square? Maybe if I, no, that's the dropper. Rectangle tool, I don't want a strict rectangle though. There's gotta be a way to, okay, that's rotate. What about this button? Nope. Terra. It's not even close to the quality of Terra. Is it Terraria? Is that what it's called? Terraria? I've never actually played it. I know what you're talking about, though. I'm such an old man. Where's my paint bucket? Here we go. So there's our first square. Then we're going to do, let's just do it like a blue. And so I'm just getting these graphics in place because I need to be able to paint some tiles out and then in code apply some logic to those tiles. That's like what the next layer on this thing is going to be. So we'll do a blue, we'll do a green, and we'll do a red, and then I guess we'll have these do different things. Terraria. It's going to have parkour maybe while running if I find a simple version of that code in horror assets. Oh, so it's like a parkour zombie game, kind of like a survival, but you're running. Like, is it Daybreak? Is that the one that's kind of like that a little bit? Or is this like, so parkour like Mirror's Edge kind of thing? The nice thing about doing that is you only have to animate much fewer things. Okay, so that's our first. Yeah. I always ask people if they have like a dream game that they would want to make. How do you spell? Oh my gosh, my obstacles. It's obstacles, right? Let's go back to. I'm missing an in my obstacles. Obstacles. Cannot save at the given location. Why not? I'm on desktop. I'm not doing a. Obstacles.png. Oops, not PNF. Why is it not exporting? There we go. Yeah, first person. Yeah, there's a ton of wall jumping videos. Just don't get overwhelmed with people doing like, I made XYZ in a day style videos, because those are just like people are flexing. And it's not like they are doing anything with consideration for long-term development. All those like I made XYZ in a day videos, just remember that um, they're not really thinking about problems to solve. Is that really how obstacles is spelled? Because that just does not look right to me. Yep. Wow. That's one of those things. You look at it and you're like, okay. Default obstacles. So these default ones are just placeholder graphics. We'll use them whenever we're developing a new level and we don't have a tile set ready for it just yet. So we're going to load up our... Oh, I need to import. I haven't imported. Stage editor here. Let's get our desktop here and our obstacles here. There we go. Now we'll go back to our tile set here, bring that in here, and then we're just going to create new tiles from each each one of these. Okay. So when we're in the obstacles editor, I need to save the tile set, go back to obstacles. I need to select obstacles from our graphics, tile sets, default obstacles. Okay. So these will exist on top of the ground tiles. And then when we're laying down the walls around the area, the obstacle tiles will exist as index numbers here in an array for the tile map. And I'll use those to then programmatically assign behaviors to the player and enemies when they pass over them. And they will have visual representations as well within the game, whatever they be, if they're like a fire or something like that. I have to use rigid bodies. No, not player controllers. I made rigid controllers. I also have to find out he's Pro Builder. That's, man, you know what? I'm just hesitant to do anything in 3D. I'll be totally honest with you. Yeah, I mean, for gray boxing out a level, just like visually being able to look at it and tell what's going on, I think it'll be fine. I kind of think I shouldn't do the peppered thing for the ground, that just have the color be brown to indicate there's a ground layer while we're making the levels. So then there's the actual maze layer. And here's the weird part. Here is the weird part. Because I'm going to keep the system that I have in place for the game. So the way that the Pac-Man, there we go. The way the Pac-Man tile sets work is these are technically, you can see how they're two on both sides. So they have some bleed over. So, So I think I need to figure out how to make it so that when you stamp a tile in here, let's say you're doing the obstacle layer, that the actual resolution, I guess, so to speak, of the image spreads across This is why we're prototyping. Uh-oh, just hose Godot. There we go. Oh, it lost my... That's not good. Oh, it's because I didn't save. That makes sense. Graphics, tile sets, default, obstacles. Here we go. So let's save. Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna have to do, but there's actually some weird considerations that I have to have for that, and I might actually use I might shift. If I shift the tiles, I think that's actually the easiest way to solve that problem that I'm talking about. So if I just offset the tile set on transform here, and just do like 32 by 32. So that they're slightly off like this. I think that's it. I think that solves the problem. And I probably actually do minus 32 by minus 32, just so visually on the screen. But then that way when you're drawing the stage out and it's in between, it'll be in between the those elements. So I think that's probably the least head smashing against the wall way to do it. Graphically, the easiest approach. And yeah, I mean, there's nothing to tell me that I can't use bigger, we can't use bigger stamps or, tiles, so to speak, for the ground. Like the ground could theoretically be larger sets of tiles than the maze one or the obstacle one. The maze is going to be the smallest set, no matter what, just because of the flexibility that's inherent in it. And so, for instance, if I just load, I already have this test tile set that I was using here, so we could start to build out the. Why isn't it drawing? Do I have to go 8 by 8? No, that's not it. What's the problem? Load. New tile set. Oh, there they are. They're teensy tiny. They're teeny tiny. That's right, because I did 16 by... Oh, here we go. Offset Y. Yeah, so you can set half offset. Yeah, so there's ways of Oh, that's for a checker. You could give each layer its own custom tiles. Yeah. I think just doing the offset, that's going to be the way to go. Basically, I'm going to load up the pellet sprite and then just scale the resolution to be 64 by 64. So we'll go open, and we will go to our... where is it? Is it game development? Bowling RPG. So all my long forgotten projects here. Pac-Man clone. And sprites. Grass. Graphics. Power pellet. Level sprites. Here we go. So, oh, no problem. No problem. So our graphical resolution is 16 by 16. So if we want to go, we multiply by 4. Sprite size. So 96 times 4. 384. 384. By, oh, we just have 400%. 400%. Nearest neighbor. There we go. So now our graphics have been scaled up to, whoops, I didn't want to save like that. We want to export. And we're going to go to our desktop. Maze. Default maze.png. Okay. Export. Good, 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 good. Now we shall bring this in. Graphics, stage editor. And we're going to call in desktop. Default maze into the stage editor. Oh, come on. You know, I do think I need to change my streaming name. I don't know if that's a bad idea or not. Because I realize the implication is that I'm like teaching. So when you say horror, like what's an example of the style that you're thinking, like in a film or another game? Default maze. And we're going to bring in hiding. I see. So when you're imagining the action, are you thinking auto tile, new auto tile, and we're going to need to adjust the snap options. We're going to be 32 by 32. There we go. Are you matching, like, since you're saying parkour, is it constant running, or is it like exploring and then, like with parkour elements, are you imagining like that there's an energy meter where, you know, there's like a stamina that they have to worry about kind of thing? Here we go. So there's the auto tile. And then we do the bit mask, which is actually really simple, which is like this. I believe that's it. Let me double check. I'll load the, let me save this and I'll load the other one. And let's go to ours. We're going to zoom in. No, the bit mask is more on the, it's even smaller. Oops, oops, oops. The bitmap is the bit mask is necessary to determine how the sprites are drawn. So we need to, okay, so let me go back here. Let's zoom out here. And we're going to change the bit mask to 16 steps like so. Then we're going to do this. Whoops. Go like that. Bit mask. And let's get rid of the whole thing. Why is it? Did I set the... Oh, that's the auto tile steps. Okay. Okay, so 64 by 64 bit mask. What is going on? (32 by 32). That gets us okay. Why is the bit mask so wrong? Subtile size. Subtile size is going to be 32 by 32. Bit mask. There we go. Now we can do the bit mask right. Okay. Then we do collisions. And we're going to say you're a collision. How do we do? Oh, yeah. Square. You're a collision. You're a collision. Hiding jump scares. Is it going to be like survival horror as well, where you have like resources that you're trying to get, or is it like get to location X? Like, what is the player attempting to accomplish? Or is it like just, I don't know, procedurally generated kind of stuff? Or like, it sounds like you have a story idea in mind. All right, so that's done. Well, let's load this in. Oh, we already have. No, we haven't. What am I talking about? We need to change this. We're going to load. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Sprites. Oh, gosh, my brain. I'm definitely not in the right headspace right now to be working, but I need to get something. That whole no 0 days thing, you know, it's trite, but it feels good. Sounds right. Okay, so this is working, but the spacing is wrong. Because, yeah, it needs to be 32. So let's try again. There we go. But it shouldn't be, there's some weirdness. It shouldn't be drawing anything if we're there. So I got the wrong, let's open up the tile set. Why is there 2? Why is there 2? Region. I think I effed something up. Let's trash can that. We'll trash can this one. We're starting over. So we got our new auto tile space. We got our bit masks. Throwing those in. Now, what did I do wrong here with the bit mask to cause that problem? Let me just save this, and we'll go over and load up the other tile set. Man, we really need to clean up our project is kind of a mess. Collision. Okay. So the bit mask looks right. We're going to do our collision layers here. Boop. Boop. I hosted a challenge once that required participants to do a new prototype every week. It was basically a nonstop development effort for 4 more weeks. Not going to lie, the week 3 and 4 felt like hell. Yeah. Well, and that's what sucks is like now that we're like, okay, we can do this. We can make a game. Like I said, it's just we're building systems. And so it's just going to be a lot of like sitting here and getting things like this is like the boring part. Like I need something graphically and you know that too. And so, you know, Darren's going to be building it, but in the meantime, I've got to have something. So I'm just, you know, brute forcing ugly ass programmer art to just get something so I can start prototyping some of it because I need to be able to get a system in place so he can start making levels like, you know, and I want to do it in a clean and logical way, and I need to do it so that if we decide to change things, it's not going to be too much of a pain in the ass because we are going to want to decide to change things. And right now I'm talking and I'm not even clicking on the right stuff here. Here we go. Okay. So I still don't understand. Oh, I know why. It's the stamp, what do they call it? Icon. So I need to select the icon tile. There we go. So the icon tile is selected. And you know what I could do? So that we don't have any stragglers. In the main level editor, in the prototyping level editor, we'll make the icon like a nasty ass green color. Let's do that. And then that way, if you accidentally you accidentally fill it in, you got that ugly green color to see, so you know you did it. Export. Okay, now we'll bring it into Godot again. But yeah, just developing tools and systems. And you know, it all dictates game logic. It's all just like, well, if we want the game to play this way, we have to have things that do these particular things, and we have to have these tools to make the things, and it just goes on and on. How do I update the... There we go. And let me just resource imports. Filters on. I knew it looked weird. Okay, re-import. Okay, now let's go back to the maze. And there, we've got the right icon. So yeah, so now if you draw something and it's not connected to anything, you get that ugly green color. But the minute you do the connection, then you get the wall nice and clean. So, boop, get the big wall. And we can improve the bit mask. Like right here, if we don't have anything, we could in theory have like an outline of a hollow thing or something like that if we were so inclined. But we got our bit mask going. That looks good. And I suppose that it could be more of an actual icon there. I don't have a name for it either. Okay, so this is the premise. And the premise is this for the level design. We draw a wall. We have our maze. Let's just let me just make a mock like hallway here, right? So there's a hallway. So if I fill in, it's gonna connect those spaces there. But then we can lay down our obstacles, right? So this is where I'm saying I need to do some tile shifting. So if because you see how it doesn't line up, and that's because of how I'm doing. We need to offset, and let's just experiment with. Oh no, that's not what I was thinking. So tile origin is top left. So we use our position here. We could do, I think it's 16 actually. It would be 16. So if we do negative 16, is that right? Yeah. So let's do, is it positive 16? Is that going to get us? There we go. And then we need, let's do nothing on the y-axis. So we'll do 0 on y. No, y was what was getting us down. 0 on x. Okay, so we need 32 on x. That still isn't right because of the way the walls work. So I think I need to do half steps for the obstacles. Because you can see that doesn't. So if I made, but can I bleed it? Can I mean, if the maze is 32 by 32, and I did the obstacles, this is why it's good to just start doing this for sure. You got to do half steps, but you don't. But don't you also have to offset the center of each tile? Yeah. So like, what does custom transform get me? See, I'm wondering if I need to look these up for tile sets. I made a local copy of the Godot documentation as well, so I can search it much faster. So I finally got my shell working properly and got it exported. It took like an hour to build the documentation up from their Git repo, but now I've got a nice fast I can just click and boom, it loads way faster than the website, and I prefer to look at it in browser rather than in the editor. So yeah, tile set is what we want. Tile set is a library of tiles for tile map. It contains a list of tiles, each consisting of a sprite, optional collision shapes. Tiles are referenced by unique integer ID. Right. So that's what I'm going to be using to determine, like I said, if it's green, I'm going to use the integer ID of the tiles here. I'm probably going to use the name. I'm going to give them a name. I'll look them up by name. And then basically this will then become, when the player is coming over these elements, there will be a map to world and map to tile map thing that you can do. And then I'll be like, oh, we've hit, but I can also do it on a collision level too. There's different ways of handling that part, but regardless, once these, maybe one of these is a switch, so there's going to be a big list of them on the screen that you can scroll down and pick from and just plop in, and then you get that stuff for free. And there may be some elements that are maze elements that are the same thing, that you stamp them on, and when you do that, then I'm going to have this up here in the editor. You'll be able to stamp them in, click on a tab, and then when you have them selected in the view here, you can edit properties to control them. So an example of that would be if, let's say, Pac-Man didn't exist and we were recreating Pac-Man, and you wanted the home base for the ghosts, there would be a stamp here in this list that you would pick, stamp it in, and then you'd have attributes saying, I want 4 ghosts, I want them to be these colors, and this is the behaviors I want them to exhibit. So that's the thinking with that. But yeah, I think you're right, offsetting this. It's just that, yeah, I wonder, I mean, can I have them bleed over so that I think I can. I think I can make them smaller than, like, if I go, let me do 32 by 32. What happens? Can I have them bleed over? Yes. So if I go 32 by 32, that's not a good way to do it. Damn, I really wanted to be able to just, well, okay, hang on. That's fine. That's fine. Because they'll just look like this. That's not going to work. Curiouser and curiouser. They're in the right spots here. But the problem is I don't know where a wall is going to be at a given spot. But like I want it to look, you know, like that. So if I offset, 16, like this, it's going to break it here because of the level spacing. Hey. How do I solve this? Because if I go like 32 by 32, it still stamps it out, you know, right? And then I can get that close area that I'm talking about, right? But the problem is that I'm only actually placing one block here and one block here, and there's a bunch of empty elements along the side. No, it depends on what we use the ground sprites for. So from a decorative standpoint, it's going to be more of the like earth or the earth elements. But they aren't necessarily off in the sense that they're the maze and the ground are aligned. I'm just trying to figure out how to crack the nut of the ground elements just because of how I've done the walls. Because again, it's oh, that might be me. It might be my internet. It might be really poor right now. Or I might be streaming at too high a resolution. I'm doing 5,000 kilobytes a second. Or kilobits. It's the little one, so it's kilobits, I think. 5 megabytes? Is that? Or 5 kilo... Yeah, well, so what's making the walls weird is, let me show you. This is what's really making them weird too. And I might just have to change how I'm doing them. Each of the tiles themselves, these ones, is you see how I have the spacing in between the sides? So it automatically creates a gap. Oh, that sucks. Yeah, we have to pay a hefty ransom for our internet in order to make sure that we don't have to pay for data limits or data caps and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm wondering if there's a way that I can make a tile. So let's go to obstacles. Is there a way I can make a tile that it might be me, guys. It could be me. I haven't had drop frames in a while, but my stream rate, my bit rate might be too high on my stream. I might need to lower it. No, that's the problem. So, gosh, I didn't think I'd be hitting a wall like this already, but the problem is that see how the maze itself. Oh well. Fudge. Because the only way I can think to solve this problem cleanly is to have a version of each obstacle, one with an offset and one without, because of how the distances on the walls work. I mean Jesus. We could just ditch how we're doing the walls right now. Make them because see the problem is like we could have something like this. And then another hallway here. Like that. Let's say. And we're not dealing with even spacing. Like, if I go like this is a better example. And I go back here. You see how the tile, see how it's like one's near the top and one's near the bottom? So I can't fix it with an offset necessarily. Well, right, yeah. I agree with that. It's just... So like, let's look at the, let me go back to this sprite. Let me see if I can recreate this corner real quick. So we're going to go draw up here like that. Yeah, so we can. So in this case, it would be a full block. So we have, So we just shift them. If I shift it in the, let me go back to the, I'll go back to the graphics here, and oops, that's where he went. Let's get rid of him. Default maze. Here we are. So right now we have the bit mask like this. But if we were to draw the walls as a complete element here, like where they went all the way to the corners. Okay. I've got to go here, but I'm gonna go see what my little boy looks like inside my portable oven that he's baking in. So I got a kid on the way. I got another kid on the way. So we're gonna go to an ultrasound and check it out. Yeah, I'm with you. White Jesus. I think I'm gonna do that. It's not going to cost anything in the existing code. It's not going to break anything because all my code was based around the collisions of the tiles in the first place. So long as the collisions are mapped correctly, because look, if you look at it like this, these are all collisions. This whole thing, except for this guy right here, are collisions. So long as the graphical representation of the walls of the maze are acceptable, then we should be okay. So I think what I'll do is we'll go with this. The walls will come out. The walls will come out more. I'm just trying to imagine how do we get our rounded edges? We bring them in more. So how do we do a rounded edge here if it's flush to the it's like I need to pull in the collision mask, and instead of it being, so the ground would become, so if our maze is 32, then our ground would be 16. Or not ground, sorry, the obstacle level layer. So obstacles would be 16, let's say. And then we get our in-betweens like that. Okay. The walls get huge. 16, and then let me just draw. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to. I'm gonna have to do some research on the collision masks and or the bit masks. Cause yeah, I think that'll work. Let's see. Would it be 32? I don't know. I think you might be right. Yeah, there's just some like basic stuff about like masking and stuff I just don't understand. What the heck happened here? Oh. Let me go to the here it is. Maze. Shift it. Keep the bit mask. I think you're right. Yeah, I shift the artwork 8x8 to the right and down on the x-axis. I keep the well, yeah, basically like half step one way, whatever the resolution is, half step one way and then down, or it doesn't matter, but shift it each direction by a half step. Then we get it in the middle. We do the bit mask on the centers of this, like you're saying, and I think we get what it is I'm trying to go for. And I think you're on the same page as me as what it is I'm trying to go for here. Essentially, I want clean walls, and then I want to be able to draw right in between them when they exist. The problem right now, as it stands, though, is that so there's two here, but I can have one for the hallway. That's the problem that needs to be remapped on the tile set side so that the representation of the wall can allow me to have that. Right. The thing that I would lose with that is the kind of the hyper thin walls. Like inherently this would make my walls thicker. So I got to think about that. Cuz I definitely right. And so that would certainly change things on a maze level, because one of the things that's so great about Pac-Man is those like you've got these like, oh god, I screwed up the tile map. I'm gonna have to undo my I'm gonna have to restore it. Way to go, Schultz. Hang on a second. Oh, it's because I overwrote the pixel art. I gotta fix that. Hang on a second. I can restore that right now. That's funny. Level sprites. Here we go. Yeah, this is what I screwed up. Discard. There we go. There we go. Well, yeah, and it's not going to be necessarily like turn driven. But that's what I. So the thing about it is you get like sharper turns and stuff with this approach. So I mean, even if I have to write some special code so that when you're in the level editor and you've got the walls set up, that when you decide to place down those elements, that they are properly spaced in between them. So be it. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it's going to take. And that's fine. Because ultimately, technically, all it's going to take is that, and I've really got to go, so I'm going to say goodbye to you guys here. But all it's going to take is, go back over to scenes, stages. Oh, it's up here. Is that when you plop something down here, that the graphical representation is shifting, is a tile image that, or an image. It doesn't even have to necessarily be a tile, but that the image itself takes up the proper space in between here. That's it. And I can use the same grid representation so I can get these thin walls. That's fine. Because the other thing that's probably going to happen as well is that I'm not going to want the obstacle graphic necessarily to be flush to the walls in the first place. But I need the data representation for the data for the programming logic to be represented in a clean grid, so that I can manipulate the attributes and effects of what's happening to the player properly. So it's just something I'm going to mull on with my mind, and I'll come back to it. But didn't do any programming today. I'm only looking at the tools and things like that. I really appreciate anyone who bothered to hang out and just watch me fumble around and look at things. You know, another way to do this, there's a few ways to do this. Centered textures. Yeah, I'm going to think about this. All right, man. Well, you guys have a good night. Well, you know, the other thing, I gotta go. All right, guys.